in a couple of minutes when we're live. I think we're live. Here we are. Deja vu. I was on here this morning at 9 a.m. UK time, and here I am again with another fabulous expert in her field, my lovely client, Linda Moseley. And Linda is probably the world's leading expert on pressure. Pressure, pressure, pressure. And of course, what that can lead to, which is burnout. So we love December, we love Christmas. And it's also a time of potential pressure, right? People can just wish it away. They can just think, well, other people are probably having fun. Good luck with them. I'm not. This is just a lot of pressure. So I brought Linda on board today to tell us how we can actually enjoy Christmas. Is it even possible, Linda? Is it possible to enjoy this time? Or is the pressure just, we just have to accept the pressure? It means it's going to be tough.
Absolutely. Thanks, Fiona. Definitely it is. Definitely it is. And what you said about just accepting it is that's where people go wrong, because
So
we sometimes do think that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
First of all, tell us, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I know about pressure because it's something that, recently it's dawned on me that I've been living with it for my whole life. My whole life, longer than I care to imagine. And having looked back on it and had some revelations in the past few years, and even so, because they just keep coming, I just see how much we put pressure on ourselves. And it is absolutely avoidable. We can't make the pressure from the world go away. But what we can do is learn to deal with it ourselves with awareness and with strategies. And absolutely, that's possible.
Okay. And you've got some personal experience of pressure.
I have indeed.
Tell us about
indeed, yeah. Okay, so looking back, about 10 years ago, I realized what I was doing. So I had left coming up to 5 different careers, 5 different jobs within a particular career. And all of that was because of the pressure that I was under. People are still doing that. They're losing their careers, they're losing their health, they're losing their relationships because of pressure. Even things, if this resonates with people, writing to work emails while they're eating their evening meal, taking phone calls while they're trying to read their children bedtime stories. These things are happening. And yeah, I realized it myself when I had walked out of that 5th job because of the pressure I was under. And I realized at that point, you know what, I really need to do something about this. This can't carry on, because this is not something you want on your CV, is it? So that's what I did. And I took some time out, and I trained, and I did more qualification, more studying. And when I started working with clients again, I realized that it was the pressure that so many people are under. It's wreaking havoc on people's lives.
I mean, it's especially bad these.
It is. It is in the last few years, absolutely.
Tough times for a lot of people. Absenteeism and sickness is the highest it's been in 10 years in the workplace. So, people are super stressed. They're living with a lot of pressure. Christmas puts a lot of pressure on people for all sorts of reasons. What's a couple of things that people could do to stop the pressure ruining Christmas, quite frankly?
Well, there's 2 or 3 things that people can do. And the first one is about blind spots. And I can tell you how I got to realize this, because I happened to be working, because again, I had that inkling years ago that this was about pressure on myself. But I happened to be working with a rather good coach. I wonder who that might have been, Fiona. And she actually at one point asked me, what is the thing that people are coming to you with the most? What is the biggest challenge that people are having? And in that moment, when that was asked to me, I just realized it's not just pressure from outside. It is the pressure that I had been putting on myself. And I realized I'd been doing it for years. And that's why I call this a blind spot. Because you do need to often get somebody to work with you to see those. Friends and family are brilliant, but it's not the same as getting somebody. And you know what? You have to be prepared to be vulnerable, to discover these things. And yes, sometimes you have to be prepared to put some money on the table. But it will stop that pressure that you put on yourself from wreaking havoc on your life, because that's how, when you see it, you can do something about it. I had a client a couple of weeks ago that said to me, and I quote, "You have enabled me to say out loud what I think I've been thinking for years, and now I can do something about it." And those were her exact words. Just through the great questioning that having somebody to support you can do that. So absolutely worthwhile, and that does illuminate blind spots.
Got it. And do you think that the blind spot that many people have, maybe all of us have, about pressure, is that actually we're the ones doing it to ourselves?
100%. 100%.
So let that land.
You can't change it. Yeah, true.
Let it land. Just let that land for everybody. If you're watching this on the replay, this may be the biggest takeaway from what Linda is sharing today. And that's both bad news and good news, right, Linda?
Absolutely it is. The bad news is that it's there. The good news is that you can do something about it.
The bad news is you're doing it to yourself, and the good news is you're doing it to yourself.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And because you're doing it to yourself, something can be done. Something can be done.
Yeah.
We can't, like I say, make it go away, but you can, once you see it, do something about it. And that is good news.
That is good news. And then what's the next thing that we can do? So we've got the blind spots clear.
We have.
We're doing
the
it.
Second thing is also a B. That is about boundaries. Boundaries where you can draw a line. You can learn to say no.
Could you give us some examples of, like, right now, what people are facing? Because
I
hear people complaining all the time about the invitations they're getting. And I'm so relieved myself that someone just cancelled because her husband's not well, so she's not hosting that thing on Wednesday night. And thank God I don't have to go to it now. Right?
100%. And do you know what? A lot of this is about not just what we expect of ourselves, but what we assume other people expect of us. So it's about being able to say no and looking after yourself, so that you know where that point is, that you go, do you know what? No, enough's enough. I need to be able to look after myself, not stretch myself so far. And that will help with how you feel about yourself, your strength, mentally, physically. It will help you with managing your time, with procrastination, with just simply feeling better and being able to get more done in the day. And Christmas is an awful time for, people are on hamster wheels all the time. Generally at Christmas, it's like double that. There's always something coming in, always somebody making some kind of demand from you. So you don't need to make more demands of yourself. That's where those boundaries come in and where you can really make a difference for yourself.
I think I've just got a feeling that, and make sure if you're watching this in the replay, put #replay. I think people hearing this might just think that sounds okay. Definitely. I can do that with these social invitations, but they might be thinking about what I do about work. I mean, if I'm in work or if I have clients who want things, I have a client who wants to do a VIP day on the 29th of December. I'm trying to decide, do I want to do that? So how do we handle pressure in the work space, as it were?
That's very much about having the right setup as well, because, hybrid working, lots of people are, dealing with that as well at the moment. So that's about knowing what's working for you and sticking to it. With extra stuff at Christmas, again, it's about getting real clarity on how you feel. Where are your boundaries? And it's about being a role model. if you say to somebody that really wants you in between Christmas and New Year, and you have set those boundaries, you have a choice. It's all about choices and taking responsibility for that. If you want to, and you want to shift that boundary, you can offer them alternatives.
Mhm.
And they will, if they're going to work with you, they will respect that you have that boundary, that you're able to say no, and you're walking the talk. That's very, very true.
Sounds good.
So you can do that, or you cannot, but you need to be clear on where your boundaries are and how much compromise you're willing to make, rather than just feeling pulled or pushed by other people.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah, definitely. And what is your third strategy?
My third strategy is very much about Christmas, but my goodness, the whole year as well. It is about beliefs.
Mm.
Now, what do I mean by that? I mean the ideas that you have about yourself. Again, this comes back to expectations a little bit. But if you're kind of lacking in the self-belief department, what that means is, wherever that's come from, if you feel that's something you're stuck with, if you're lacking in that department or you're struggling with it, what it means is you are going to be stuck with a life of proving yourself all the time.
Mhm.
You're going to feel that you have to do that. And you know what? That is exhausting.
Mhm.
That's one of my experiences. You can absolutely run yourself ragged by trying to prove that you're good enough, that you're on time enough, that you're clever enough, that you're giving enough. It's all there. And if you're constantly striving for that, if you're constantly trying to prove yourself to other people and to yourself, that is going to make a difference. It's exhausting. Excuse me. It's exhausting, and you're never going to feel that you've done enough. That eventually is going to lead to burnout. And that's not necessarily pushed on you by other outside circumstances. This is when it's really clear to bring those three blind spots, boundaries, beliefs all together, so that you can take control of that yourself.
Practically speaking, what could someone start to do about that? Because I see what you're saying straight away. If we don't have that foundation of self-worth, of self-belief, then we could absolutely spend our lives looking for that outside validation from some outside body or person. And you could even think, I need to change my circumstances, I need to work with different people or work in a different place. That will be better. And actually it won't be better, because if you're still going out there with that feeling about yourself that you're essentially not good enough, you're still in that place of looking for outside validation and setting yourself up to overwork to prove yourself.
You certainly are. And there's that saying, isn't there? What is it? Something along the lines of, you can travel to the end of the earth, but you'll still find yourself there. That, and it's so true.
Yeah.
You've got to believe that actually you're okay on your own. And
Yeah.
some of this comes from way back. Some of this is, I found that strategy when I was little and it worked then. Is it working for you now? That's the question to ask yourself. And get help. Get help. Get a coach or someone to support you.
Definitely, obviously, one needs to work ideally with someone else, because sometimes you've got to have that person who's on your side, shoring you up and showing you all the reasons why you are good enough. And sometimes you got to just lean into somebody else's belief about you and feed off their beliefs and their belief, so it becomes yours, so it makes you stronger. So there's no question about that. But what could someone do sort of right now to avoid this pressure around Christmas time? What could they do in terms of beliefs?
They could have a look at, there's a whole load of stuff that we're telling ourselves all the time. I think it's very much about compassion for yourself. And it's very much about listening to what on earth you're saying to yourself, watching your language. What are you saying to yourself? Just think, would you talk to somebody else in the same way as you're talking to yourself? Because 9 times out of 10, you'd find you're not being anywhere near as kind to yourself or valuing yourself as much as you would for other people. So just watch those words that you're saying to yourself. You know, take care of yourself. Take some time to recharge. We can't run on empty. That's what leads to burnout and pressure. Just go, go, go. And it's notice where your boundaries are. It's about taking action. And if that means working with somebody and getting accountability, because that will really, really make a difference. So much. But yeah.
I think the thing that people do as well, and maybe they don't notice it, is that comparing yourself to others, because that can because that can leave you feeling so deficient, so wanting, so lacking. And maybe something I would offer people here is look at where you've come from. You might look at someone and you think, wow, they're doing so well. Why are they there and I'm not? But here's the thing, your journey might have been completely different from theirs. So maybe what you've got to look at is where you've come from, right? Some people do start out and they have a certain advantage in life in every which way, whether it's the place they were born or the parents they have, right? And possibly you didn't have that advantage.
Well,
so
absolutely.
Maybe look at where you've come from and have some compassion for how far you have come as a result.
Do you know what the other thing is about that, Fiona, is that if you're really stuck in this comparing thing, which, that's never going to be useful, never. What you can do is, if you have to do some comparisons, compare yourself today to yourself yesterday, or yourself last month, or a few years ago. Never mind what anybody else is doing. You have no idea what's going on for them behind the scenes. It might look wonderful, but actually, you don't know. So stick to yourself. Look at how far you've come. Recognize your achievements. Journal them. Ask other people for the good stuff about you and acknowledge it. Because it's so easy to look at what you think are the bad things and just ignore the good. I help people with that all the time, and they end up, yes, I did do that. Oh, I can do that. And it really, really helps. Look at the good stuff, acknowledge the good stuff, and compare. If you have to do comparing, compare yourself today to what you were yesterday, and just move forwards in those tiny little amounts.
And I love what you're saying about you never know what's going on for other people.
You don't.
Right?
You don't.
I remember, there was this person I just admired so much and still do, Nick Jones, who set up the Soho House group of private members clubs. Now, Nick Jones, if you look at his life, it's pretty darn fantastic. I mean, in every which way, like materially speaking, and he's got a happy family and a lovely wife. And then a couple of months ago, I got this email from him. It went out to all the members, but it was basically saying that he was stepping back from the day-to-day running of the organization because he was, thankfully, in the recovery stages of cancer, prostate cancer, right? So the truth is, none of us knew that was going on for him. So we just don't know what is going on for people. Maybe their life isn't so perfect. Maybe they're living with incredible pressure in some way or other. So
that's the thing about pressure. It can come from so many different sources, which is why you can't go putting more on yourself, because there's enough elsewhere.
Christmas is a time when people, I think, often think that there is this perfect Christmas. And your Christmas is not going to measure up to that perfect Christmas, right? We should all be gathering around the Christmas tree as a family, singing carols together. But if that's not your Christmas, that's a big pressure as well, right?
It is.
The Christmas card Christmas.
Yeah. And that's the thing about, putting this extra pressure on yourself and thinking you've got to prove yourself. Who are you proving it to? Where are the expectations coming from?
Yes.
What is good enough?
Yeah.
You can, yes, you can strive to be something, but it's about getting the reality there, and just doing what you can without thinking it. I mean, striving for perfection is never, ever, ever going to do anybody any good. Never.
Yeah. And I love that. Yeah, because it's so easy to think somebody else has got the perfect Christmas and yours, by comparison, is not measuring up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I love
I've not spent enough time on this. I've not bought enough this. I've not cooked enough that. I've not finished everything off at work. It's, stop with the assumptions. Stop with the assumptions. Stop with the expectations.
Yeah, I love that. So, Linda, you mainly work with people in organizations, right? Business leaders, managers.
Yeah, that's right. And entrepreneurs. Yeah.
Entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So if someone wanted to reach out to you and have a chat about maybe, I mean, I'm sure there's people listening to this now or later who are going to have light bulb moments and realize that actually this incredible pressure that they've realized they're living with is largely of their own making. Bad news, but the good news is that you can then begin to lift that off your shoulders and do something about it. So, Linda, how do people reach out to you? Linda at?
Well, yeah, it is Linda at Brighter Changes.
Okay.
brighterchanges.co.uk.
Awesome.
And yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to talk to people. If anybody wants to contact me to do that, we can have a good look at what could make the biggest difference from them.
Okay.
And take it from there.
You find sometimes that there's one thing in particular that people are doing that's causing the greatest pressure? Or there's one underlying cause?
Very often. And I think the biggest thing seems to be confidence in themselves that they can cope with or they just can't do it. Overwhelm is one of those words, and you are lacking in self-confidence in your ability to do whatever, and for different people it's different things. But again, that comes back to, I've got to be something, I've got to do something, I've got to prove something.
Yeah. Gosh,
and actually where it comes from doesn't necessarily matter. It's what you're going to do about it now.
Precisely. It's just such an internal game, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I've got this feeling, just to end, but I've just got this feeling that if we're walking around with this, I'm not enough, I need to do more, insecurity, people can feel that. And people could start to believe it. And then we get clobbered with more things to do. And then people don't have faith in us because we don't have faith in ourselves. We're looking like we've missed something crucial out. And that uncertainty is what people pick up on.
Yes, that's absolutely true. And do you know what else strikes me when you say that is it's very much the people who suffer from this the most are the people who are really good at what they do, who are conscientious, who want to be responsible, who want to help, who want to do the most, to achieve the most. And because they're great at it, people go, oh, you're reliable, here's something else to do. And they ask them. And because they don't like to say no, because they want to be good and they want to be kind and they want to help out, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So how do you step back from that without this realization, without acknowledging, oh, hang on a minute, I could be doing this to myself? It's the people who want more and do more that suffer the most.
Yeah, definitely. And here's something that people could just play with. If you're thinking about saying yes to yet more work, to yet more stuff to do, you could just pause for a moment and say to yourself, hold on now. if I really believed I was good enough, what
Mm,
would my answer be? If I didn't
that's
need to
good.
prove anything
Yeah.
to anyone, what would I do? You
Yes.
see? If I
Exactly.
really
How would I, if I
well,
knew that what I was doing is good enough, how would I behave differently?
would I say yes to that? Or would
Hmm.
I say no to that? So it's perhaps understanding what's driving your decisions,
Yes.
what's underneath the motivation, right?
Yeah.
This has been a
Yeah.
great conversation. It's in the middle of the day. We haven't got squillions of people here, but we will have people watching on the replay. And I really hope so, because this has been such a valuable conversation. And there's going to be light bulb moments for so many people hearing this. And that's a
I
good
hope so. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. All right, beautiful. I talk to you later. Thank
Thank
you
you,
so
Fiona.
much.
Bye-bye.
Totally appreciate
Bye-bye.
you. Thanks, gorgeous. Thank you